Welcome back to the Sound of Astrology. I am so pumped to talk to you today about the sound of Pluto. Okay, so Pluto, man, I just think Pluto's rough. Pluto's a little bit rough. When I first started learning astrology and I looked at Pluto, I remember pulling up all my kids' charts and wondering where their Pluto was and that like thing that would just kill them in their life. That's really like what I thought because Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth. And while birth is fantastic, also birth is hard and birth is a struggle and death is like not something that anybody really wants, right? So I was like, nothing about this planet sounds good. And all this planet fills me with is dread and fear and concern and um, over a little bit of overwhelm, like all of these things. And so it really took like honing in and listening to what Pluto was telling me in order to develop a new relationship with Pluto and to step into a place, for better words, a place of power with Pluto. And that's exactly what Pluto told me that it is. It is where our personal power lies. So there is a lot with this. So I wanted you to take a look at your natal chart and see what house and what sign does your Pluto sit in. We're going to go over this just a little bit. There is so much with this planet. So that was one thing. And so I looked at my chart and I was like, okay, Pluto is in my fourth house. So my personal power comes at home. And my personal power comes at being at home with myself, especially because my Pluto is in retrograde. So all of these things play a part in how our Pluto expresses, right? The sign it's sitting in, whether it's retrograde or direct, and the house that it's sitting in, and any relationship that it might have, like a close relationship that it might have. All of those things are going to impact how our Pluto expresses in our life. Now, we can still break it down a little bit. And we can look at it as like this is the place where our personal power is and gain that the hope and the confidence that we need. I truly believe that astrology and the map of our natal chart is here to offer us hope, to offer us confidence, and to give us the courage that we need to step into who we are and to express who we are, which is like really everything that I'm about, expressing the sound of our soul, expressing the base of who we are, right? So Pluto is this, and so we can gain this. And so I was like, okay, so being at home with myself, really focusing on being at home with myself. Now, so that's like one half of Pluto. The other part of Pluto, uh, and this is the tender and the I don't really I love it. I love it, and it's also hard. So like just owning all of that, right? So the other side of Pluto is a cause and effect. Pluto is not a force. We can't make Pluto happen in our life. Now, if we look at the idea that Pluto is death and rebirth, you can't force birth. I mean, you can. We have, as society now in medicine, found a way to force birth. We've got inducing, we've got C-sections, and there are like a lot of really good things about this. And so we can force Pluto. However, that is only in extreme cases that we want to do that. But what we tend to do is we tend to want to make it happen in our life. We want to get that power. And so we force that power. in our lives, and we force ourselves, we not force ourselves, but we insist on claiming that power. And when we do this with Pluto, we are 100%, well, maybe 99%, because there are those small exceptions, right? We are stepping into ego. So if we are trying to make our Pluto happen, then we are stepping into ego. When we relaxing into our Pluto, and I'm going to share more about how to do that in just a second. When we relax more into our Pluto, then it naturally happens. Then the death of who we are in that space happens, and the rebirth of who we want to be happens. Now, who we want to be. Pluto in our charts, so it says all these different things. Pluto in our chart also tells us where our deepest desire is. My deepest desire, with my Pluto being in the fourth house in retrograde in Libra, is to be at harmony with myself. Now, what I have tried to do throughout my life is I have said, oh, well, if everyone else around me is happy and there's harmony on the outside, then I can be happy on the inside. And that has not been the case. That has absolutely not been the case. It has made harmony on the outside for other people, but it's been a false harmony. Because whenever we are in harmony with ourselves, it naturally brings other people into harmony. And I'm going to share this example because it doesn't seem real. So a girlfriend and I we got together, and we did a drum circle together. And for my part of the drum circle, I had everyone take their drums and face the back to them. So we had previously gone around the circle and shared one like negative label that we had put on our voice, right? And then we took the drums with the back facing us so that there was an echo. And I had them choose the word that they wanted to represent their voice. And the word that they really wanted, the value that they really wanted to step into with their voice. And then I had them just intuitively sing it. Like it didn't matter if it was preferably it was just a melody that they made up, and they just allowed that melody to come from their heart. And as they sang into that, and we did it all together so that it wasn't too exposing for everybody, and we could just focusing on ourselves. And the most beautiful thing happened. There was absolute harmony in the room. And it was incredible. I had never done this exercise before with a group, and so I was a little bit nervous about how that would turn out. I was thinking there was going to be a lot of discord and a lot of like dissonance, but there was so much harmony. And so it was proof to me that when we are in harmony with ourselves, then it naturally brings other people into their own harmony as well, and then harmony with each other. So that's just like a little plug for that. And so any of you that have Pluto in Libra in retrograde, just remember that is a huge piece. Or if you have a planet in retrograde, remember harmony within yourself. So now let me get back on track. So this is like our greatest desire. Another example, I have seen Pluto in the third house in retrograde. So really our deepest desire, or their deepest desire, is to be able to hear the communication within themselves. Now, generally speaking, when we think of our greatest desire, these things that Pluto is showing us, it wouldn't be the first thing on our mind, because we aren't taught to like desire value, we're taught desire things. And because, that is a show to the world, right? And it's a show to us that we've arrived. And again, that's a little bit of the forcing things to happen instead of relaxing into the value. When we relax into the value, the the physical desires naturally come into being. So with this Pluto in retrograde in the third house, the soul's deepest desire that they might not even know is to actually have powerful and harmonic communication within themselves and to really understand what it is that they are thinking and feeling on a regular basis. Now, what happens in this person's life is instead of relaxing into that space, their voice is kind of uh, very loud and their opinions are pushed onto other people. Does that make sense? And so it's like a way for them to have this like personal power in communication, but it's coming out in that way. And it's like, we're going to have harmony, so I'm going to tell you what you're thinking. And thus it's totally opposite the way that um my Pluto in Libra is showing up. And so again, and theirs is in Libra as well. And so again, it's this way to like the relationships and what each personal Pluto is saying. So it's important to take a listen and to really check in and listen instead of just regurgitating information, but listen to what Pluto is telling you. In the second house, it could be like money is important, and money shows me my value, especially if it's in retrograde, right? If that planet's in Pluto's in retrograde, and like forcing money to happen and making money extremely important, or like touting our value. That could be like, I am so valuable. And like saying that instead of sinking into it, feeling our value on the inside, feeling our value at a deep, deep level. So it can happen there. It can happen in with business if it's like really pushing business to happen because your Pluto's in the 10th house and you're like really wanting that power to be seen and you're wanting to step into that power. And so you're pushing business, you're pushing money, you're pushing yourself out there when maybe you might not be ready. So how do we get into a place of a simpatico relationship with our Pluto? How do we grasp that power, that personal power? How do we rebirth ourselves without stepping into our ego to try to make it happen? And the answer to this is to step into our moon, to step into our moon sound, and to connect to our heart, because our moon sign is where our heart is at. Our moon is representative of the base of our sound. And when we are sitting in our sound, when we are connected to our heart, and not only connected to our heart, but expressing it through our sound, our Pluto naturally happens. That death and rebirth naturally happens. Not to say that it's always easy, but to say the focus is on the heart and Pluto happens. The focus is on being in our sound and doing that thing that we need to do, and this naturally happens. So, for example, my moon is in Leo, which is a very expressive sign. It's a very dynamic sign. It's a fire sign. So when I step into this place of expressing my heart, like the one thing I have to do is express, right? When I step into expressing, I will naturally step into a place of being in harmony with myself. So we go back to like what I was doing, what I was trying to force Pluto to happen. I let everybody else have a voice. I let everybody else have a say, and I didn't speak up. But when I have a voice in my life and I feel at home with myself, having that voice, even if times it's uncomfortable, then it allows me to really step into that power, and it aids me into stepping into that power. And then that's when I have the rebirth. And that's when I'm really claiming my personal power is through my heart and through that expression. So that's a little bit about Pluto. And what I hear when I listen to it, if you want to connect to Pluto, bottom line, connect to your heart and connect to your moon sound. So check out those. I've got a bunch of playlists, or I've got a playlist for the sound of the moon. So go check out those videos. Look for your sound of the moon video and see what your heart is telling you. I'll see you next time.